This is the DoughRoller Money Podcast, episode number 180. My name is Rob Berger. I'm the founder of DoughRoller.net and the host of this podcast. And today we're going to talk about how a simple two-word question can have a profound impact on our lives.
Welcome to the DoughRoller Podcast, where the best thing money can buy is financial freedom. We help you make more, spend less, and invest the rest. And now your host, Rob Berger.
Whether you're just starting out, buried under a mountain of debt, or well on your way to financial freedom, this is the podcast to help you take your finances to the next level. Hey everybody, hope you're having a great day. So last week, I was playing chess with my brother. My brother and I play chess when he's in town, when we're together quite a lot, and it's a lot of fun. He's not really a tournament chess player, and so it's kind of an interesting dynamic as we play, but it's a lot of fun. And we were playing last week, and something happened in the game that, believe it or not, if you can imagine chess being the inspiration for a personal finance podcast, but it was this time. We were playing chess, and he had a winning position, and at the time, neither of us saw it. We didn't see the move that he could make. And it was really, it was a little tricky, but it wasn't that complicated, and neither one of us saw it. And after the game, we went back and looked at it and found the move pretty quickly. And here's why we didn't see the move. The move involved his checking my king with his rook. And he was going to move the rook. The key move would have been to have moved his rook right next to my king, putting me in check. But the problem is the rook was not defended. So I would have just taken his rook. King takes rook. And that's why we didn't see the move. See, had I taken the rook, and if he had made the move, it would have been my only choice because my king was in check and there were no other squares that it could go to. I had to take the rook. Had I done that, of course, it would have moved my king to a different square, and it would have allowed him to attack my king with another piece, his bishop. And the result would have either been checkmate in two moves, or I would have to lose my queen to stop the checkmate. Either way, he was going to win the game. And neither of us saw this relatively straightforward rook sacrifice. Why not? Well, we did what I think I do a lot. I think all of us probably do a lot in life. We saw the rook move and immediately dismissed it out of hand. We can't do that. The king will take the rook. So let's just forget that option and move on. We encountered a problem and we stopped thinking. We stopped thinking about the question. We stopped analyzing that option. We saw the problem and we just did a 180 about turn, and we started looking for other options. And in life, whether it's in our personal finances, investing, our careers, our business, in relationships, the list could go on and on. We're constantly running into obstacles like that. And so often, our response to it is to immediately sort of recognize the obstacle and just assume we can't move around it, or we can't move through it, and to try to find a different option. In some ways, it's kind of it's all about thinking outside of the box. And today what I want to share with you is one way that I am now trying to do that, not only in chess, by the way, so that in a chess game, I see that move, because that's what you need to do if you're going to win a game, but also whether it's personal finance, my career, investing, whatever. And it's to ask a very simple two-word question. What if? If either my brother or I had asked that question, well, what if I move the rook there? All right, sure. So what if I lose the rook? Well, the king will move over to that square. Now what can I do? What are my options? If we had just taken a couple of seconds to ask that simple what if question, either one of us would have seen that move. Now, if I had seen it, I'm not sure there was much I could do about it because I was losing. But if he had seen it, he would have then, of course, have made the right move and would have won the game. And I think that comes up a lot in our lives. And probably, here's the tricky thing about this. It comes up and we just turn away from that rook move and we don't even know it. We don't even really think about it. It's almost as if potential options don't even come to mind because we're thinking inside the box. We're not asking that what if question. Let me give you a practical example. It has to do with cars. So we have 3 cars, and there are 4 of us here. Actually, my son is still in the Marines, stationed away from home, but he'll be coming home in about a month and a half. So we have 3 cars. So right now, my wife drives her car. It's a 13-year-old Mercedes. I drive a 5-year-old Camry, and our daughter is driving our, I guess it's almost 11 or 10 and a half-year-old, we keep cars for a long time, 10 and a half-year-old Honda Odyssey. So it's fine. We've got 3 cars, 3 of us. Our son's in the military at the moment. But here's the thing. We've decided that when our daughter goes back to college in the fall, we're going to let her take my car. And as part of that decision, we thought, well, our son will be home by then. He can drive the van. And I'll buy a new car, something that I'll plan to keep for a very long time. And, I was I have to admit, I was kind of excited about it. If you've listened to this show long enough, I'm going to pay cash. But it'll be a new car. It'll be a used car, but it'll be new to me. And I started doing what you do when you're shopping for cars. I downloaded CarMax's app to my phone to start looking at cars. I downloaded Cars.com's app, to look at cars. And but at no time did I ask a simple question. Well, what if? Well, what if I don't buy a car? What will happen? It was almost like that Rook move. It's like, well, I got to have a car. I got to drive. I've got to get to work and I've got to do things. So it was almost as if like the Rook move, I kind of rejected that possibility out of hand. And oddly enough, it was that chess game and thinking about why my brother and I both missed that move that got me to reevaluate this whole car purchase decision. And it's particularly important for us because, as you know, if you've listened to past shows, we are working to pay off our mortgage. I'd love to be debt-free. And certainly if I could avoid spending money on a car, regardless of how much I spent, that would just be more money that I could put towards the mortgage. So I started asking myself, well, okay, what if I didn't get a car? So I started thinking through it. Well, my wife has a car to drive to work. My son will have a car. If I needed a car and one of them's home, I'll just, drive either the van or my wife's car. That takes care of that. And if I really needed a car and they were both going to be gone, my wife doesn't work that far from the house, so I could easily drop her off and use the car while she's at work. I suppose during the day, if I'm working from home, I might just go out less. I might run my errands, at a different time of the day when I have a car and try to get all of them done in one trip, rather than just sort of casually hopping in the car and running anywhere I want to. And then I thought if I really needed a car, I could always Uber, right? I could always use Uber, which is in this area where we live. I could use it, for that matter, to take us to the metro, to take me to the metro, our what we call the subway here in Washington, D.C., the metro, and take that right into work. So if I needed to go downtown to work in the office and no car was available, I could do it. Now, of course, there's costs associated with using Uber, but boy, that's going to pale in comparison to the cost of, buying another car, getting insurance, maintenance on the car, and of course, there's gas. And so I thought, maybe I don't need to buy another car. I'd love not to have another car. And so I talked to my wife about it. We're going to experiment. I'm going to try going without a car. And you know what? If it fails, that's okay. I can try it for a month. This won't happen until, end of August. But I can try it for a month. And if it doesn't work out, I'll buy a car. That's all. But if it does work out, it'll save us a lot of money. And eventually our son is going to buy his own car. And assuming the van hasn't died by then, I hope not. It's almost 190,000 miles. But assuming that thing is still running, I'll just drive it. And eventually it will die. And eventually I will probably buy another car. But by then, I will have gotten the absolute most out of the cars we have. By then, I hope our mortgage is paid off. And what the heck? It's an experiment. Isn't that what life's about? But I wouldn't have even thought of that possibility had I not just asked that simple question, what if? And it came to me from playing a game of chess. So I started thinking, there's a lot of ways we can apply this to our own lives. What if you started saving 3% of your income in a 401k or an IRA? Now, if you're really stretched thin, when you think about that, immediately all kinds of objections are going to come up. Well, I'm already stretched thin enough. I'm barely making it month to month. So ask this question. What if you didn't have a choice? What if you had to? Then what would you do? And you'll start thinking, well, I guess I'd cut back here. I'd make these changes over here. Force yourself down that mental path of what if. Don't just stop with the question when you encounter your first objection. Think it through. Ask what if you had no choice. Now, you may not end up saving 3% of your income to a 401k or an IRA. Maybe you save 2% or 1%, or maybe you have to put it off a year. But force yourself down that path and don't give up when you see your first obstacle, like the king can take the rook. All right, what if that happens? Then what? What if you got rid of one of your cars? Kind of like what we're going to do. That is, we're not going to add to it. What if you got rid of all your cars? What if you downsized, not when you retired, but in your 30s, 40s, or 50s? What if you moved to a less expensive area of the city or the country? Now, again, you may have immediate objections to that. Well, I have friends here. I have family here. Maybe good reasons not to move. But when you're talking about financial freedom, isn't it worth at least considering those options if they are right for you? And that actually brings up a voicemail that I received from a listener. Remember, you can send in a voicemail. You just go to DoughRoller.net/voicemail. That will redirect you to the page where you can leave a voicemail for me, and I will play it on the air and try my best to respond to your question. And with that, let's listen to a voicemail I received from a listener named Ellie.
Hey Rob, my name is Ellie. I started listening to your podcasts a few months ago and I'm a big fan. You create great valuable content that you gracefully share with your audience, and you do it in a professional yet friendly and easy to consume manner. I wanted to suggest a topic for one of your next episodes. A few months ago, my family and I'm married with 2 kids, decided to relocate from the New York City area where we lived in the past 4 years to Fort Lauderdale area in Florida. The decision to relocate derived from a combination of factors like weather, time zone, job opportunities, education, quality of life, etc. One of the important factors was the financial aspect of the relocation. Cost of living, which translates into income, expenses, taxes, real estate, education, groceries, and more. I'm working in a global high-tech company. We have offices both in New York City and Fort Lauderdale, so I'm keeping the same job when I will relocate to Florida with the same salary. In a world where many people work from home or work for global or national companies, there is a huge opportunity to relocate and live almost anywhere in the United States. And I think it would be great if you could spend one episode and cover all the factors and considerations one should evaluate before making such a decision from the personal finance aspect. Hope I'll make it into one of your next podcasts. Keep up the great work and continue educating us, your fans. All the best, Ellie.
Ellie, thanks so much for the voicemail and the question. And I thought it fit nicely in today's topic of asking the question, what if? Because I think so often when we're dealing with financial struggles, financial strain, we don't tend to think outside of the box. Now, moving to another location in the country is not going to be for everyone. But so often we don't think about those questions. We sort of dismiss them out of hand as if it's not a possibility, as if moving across, even across town is out of the question, let alone, in Ellie's case, moving down to Florida. We dismiss it out of hand. Again, it's not going to be for everyone, but I think it's worth asking the question, what if? Now, in response to Ellie's specific question, you think, well, what kind of factors would you consider? Well, obviously, the first one would be whether you have a job like he apparently does that would allow you to live anywhere. And that's the first, I think, critical question. Because if you don't, and you move to, say, that we'll pick my hometown of Columbus, Ohio. If you move from New York City to Columbus, Ohio, yes, the standard of living, the cost of living is a lot less, but you're not going to make as much. Now, if you happen to have a job where you can live anywhere and you're comfortable with the income and you're living in an expensive area of the country, boy, moving to Columbus, Ohio would be like getting a huge raise, because the cost of living, particularly with housing, is so much less. So in those factors, what do you think about? Well, assuming you've got the job that will accommodate the move, you're going to start asking questions like, first of all, well, what if, right? These are all what if questions. Well, what if I leave my friends and family where I currently live, assuming that you have family where you live? That's going to be an important question. It's not the questions we're answering here aren't just about dollars and cents. They're about quality of life, and quality of life in part, I think, hinges and depends on the people you have around you, friends, family. So that's going to be a big question. Some people are okay picking up and moving to a place where they know nobody. Some people view that as an adventure, and that's great. But that's something you're going to have to really think about, and it's going to be, in some cases, hard to really project ahead as to how you're going to truly react being in a different place and being around, maybe leaving friends and loved ones back home. Now, one idea there, particularly if you own a home, this is something my wife and I have talked about, is if we were going to do that, and we've talked about moving to different places, we likely wouldn't sell our house. We'd probably rent it for a year so that if it didn't work out, we could go back. And so that's one option. The other option is truly, or the other factor to consider is what the cost of living really is where you're going to move. That's usually pretty easy to figure out. Certainly, real estate tends to be the biggest consideration. And you can find real estate prices anywhere very easily in the U.S. through sites like Zillow. But the other thing to think about are taxes. And, Florida doesn't have an income tax, which is nice. Of course, it's not the only tax to consider. But usually in lower cost of living areas, the taxes tend to be lower, although not always. So you don't want to make any assumptions. And so you certainly want to factor that in. As Ellie pointed out, they're considering other things like weather, and just what do you like to do? Some people are, love the outdoors. And I know folks, for example, that live in Colorado, and they wouldn't live anywhere else. They absolutely love it. And so, part of it is, what your interests are, your hobbies, what you like to do. And that will often dictate where you want to live. But I think the key here, and this is why I was so grateful for Ellie's question, is to think about this as an option and to ask the what if question. Because again, so often we don't even consider these sort of out of the box ideas. We see that rook check and see that the king can take the rook, and then we just stop right there and turn around and move in the other direction, rather than trying to think through the problem and to really put on paper all of our options. This goes far beyond even questions of finance. It goes to, I think, questions about our country, right? What if you voted for politicians not because their proposed policies would make your life easier, but because they'd make our country better, even if that meant making our lives a little harder? What if, and this goes back, 50 years, what if we once again started asking the question, not what can our country do for us, but what can we do for our country? A sentiment, oddly enough, put forth by a Democrat. But can you imagine politicians saying that today? They'd get booed off the stage. What if we put down our picket signs asking for a $15 minimum wage and instead, through training and education and hard work, found jobs that paid 2 or 3 times or more the minimum wage? Boy, it's a lot harder than holding a picket sign, but far more rewarding. What if you spoke up during your next company meeting? The what if question is powerful. It can be asked in so many ways, in so many circumstances. It's really limited only by our imaginations. But here's the real key. What if you come to the end of your life and you have profound feelings of regret because you never asked the simple question, what if? If asking that question, what if, has had a profound impact on your life, I'd love to hear about it. Shoot me an email, dr@DoughRoller.net. If you'd like to support the show, you can do that. Just go to DoughRoller.net/support. Appreciate those who already started supporting the show. And of course, you can email me with questions or topics anytime, dr@DoughRoller.net. Would love to hear from you. Remember, until next time, the best thing money can buy is financial freedom.